Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from middle leading 8469 and it says, am I the arsehole for telling my wife to stop playing Roblox and do her duties as a parent? And I'm sure you all know what Roblox is, but just in case, Roblox is an online game, a platform if you like, where people can make their own games inside it and you have your character and that always stays the same and you can go into all these different games. Basically an online game you can play with other people. The story starts off. My 37 female wife and I 36 male have always tried to keep the housework pretty evenly split between us. I, for example, mow the lawn and do laundry and dishes, and she meal plans, cooks, picks up and drops off the kids. Lately, this has all changed because she's become addicted to a game called Dress to Impress on Roblox. If you aren't familiar, it's a game where you have to dress your character in a themed outfit before the time runs out, and the other players rate it from 1 to 5 stars. It started off harmless, just a fun thing she would do during downtime before bed. But recently she missed crucial appointments and chores because of this game. I tried to be understanding and gently remind her to do her tasks, but she would always say she forgot or got distracted. The big argument happened last night when she forgot to pick up our 9-year-old son from basketball practice, which ended at 6. I hadn't got home yet as I had to work late, and our son doesn't have a phone, so I had no way of knowing the situation. I eventually got home around 7 and realized he was not in his room. I looked around further and saw that he was nowhere to be found. I walked into our bedroom confused to ask my wife where he was and found her on her iPad playing the game as always. When I asked her where our son was, her eyes grew wide and I knew what happened without her having to say. I immediately got back into my car and went to pick him up. Luckily, his coach had stayed after to make sure he was picked up safe, and I apologized profusely. Apparently, he had been calling and texting my wife, who was the emergency contact, and she didn't even notice. When we got home, I immediately blew up at her. How could she be so addicted to a kid's game that she completely forgot our son? Now she's telling me it was a one-time thing and that I'm an asshole for getting angry. I don't know what to think. I do kind of understand her side of the story, as it's only happened one time. But she has to be a responsible parent. She can't just completely forget about our child who has no way to get home on his own. So, am I the arsehole? Look, it's got to the point where she's failing her basic parental duties, leaving a 9-year-old stranded for an hour while, it seems ignoring calls from his coach isn't just a one-time thing to brush off. It's neglect, and it just shows how severe, and I'm going to say it's an addiction, has become. You can enjoy games, you can, whatever the hobby may be, you can enjoy it, but when it gets to the point of choosing that over your child's safety, it shows addiction behavior that we see and how the way it escalated. It started with like harmless fun, then went to missing appointments and chores, and now it's got to the point where, you're endangering your own child, but still minimizing it yourself. When she called her husband an arsehole for being angry at her rather than being horrified at what she did, it just shows how in denial she is about it. And that's not making excuses for the behavior, absolutely not. But it's just the way that is coming across to me in that post. The commenter says, not the arsehole, this isn't a chore she's blowing off. This is forgetting your own child. How could she not even notice the calls and texts from the coach? That's what I'm wondering about. Is something else going on with her? Opie says, I'm not entirely sure how she missed all of the messages and phone calls from the coach. We haven't spoken much since the argument. I haven't noticed anything different with her, but I could be missing things. Commenter says, OP, is her iPad hooked up to her iPhone? Because if it is, then your wife willfully ignored the messages and calls. Those things are shown on any Apple device hooked to the same account. iPhone, iPad, MacBook. Also, I would remove your wife from every emergency contact or add yourself with a note requiring they notify you both. OP responds saying, I think the other replies are right. She still had her iPad on silent. Still, I feel like she would have seen the notifications. Anyway, I text the coach to add my number to the emergency contact list, so hopefully nothing like this will happen again. Another commenter says, is this real? She needs therapy if she's so addicted to a silly kids game with avatars that she's forgetting her own real child. This is a scary and serious event for your kid. And okay, maybe losing track of time, but missing the calls and texts too? That's insane. Not the arsehole. Hope your kid is okay. He probably felt so scared and abandoned. Opie says thanks for your concern. I'm planning on talking to her tomorrow morning because I've had a day to cool off and think it over. I talked to my son in the car after the original event and he seemed okay from my perspective. Obviously a little afraid and confused, but nothing that should impact him in the long run. I'll continue to be checking up on him and making sure though. Commenter says, OP, be worth getting one of those phones that can only dial certain numbers for your son and change the emergency contacts to yourself and any other trustworthy adult with acceptable distance from your area, just till she proves herself and stays off the game. OP says, good idea. I might look into a flip phone or something similar. I just don't want to give him free reign on the internet so young, so this would probably be a good solution. Another commenter says, not the arsehole, but I have questions. Does your wife work? What time does she get home? How does your kid get home when he doesn't have practice? How many kids do you have? Who normally makes dinner? And when do you all eat? I'm struggling to understand how this could happen. Opie says she works part-time and usually gets home around 2. We only have one kid. He gets home on the school bus when there's no practice. She in the past has been the one in charge of cooking and food, but recently I've started to do this because of the events in this post. We are usually eating around 6:30. So sometime later, OP comes in with her update and says, hi everyone, thank you for all the advice on my previous post. So I decided to have a conversation with my wife the day after I made the post about time spent on video games. We talked for a while and I tried to bring up important things people talked about in the comments. I saw a lot of people suggesting that I completely block and delete Roblox from her devices, and I brought that up. Obviously, she didn't take that well. I told her it's completely unacceptable what she's been doing and there needs to be at least a time limit set on her device. I can't control her, but I made it clear it's a very important thing to me and it would damage our relationship if she said no. After I said this, she agreed to the time limit. Another thing I saw a lot in the comments was concern for my wife's mental health. I appreciate people's insight into this because it's something I don't really have a lot of experience in. I asked her if she would consider seeing a therapist, and she said she would think about it. People were also concerned about how my son is feeling after all this. I didn't realize that it's something that may have an impact on him. I've had a conversation with him and made sure he understood his mum and I love and care for him, and that nothing like this would ever happen again. I've ordered him a cheap flip phone so he wouldn't be completely stranded alone if these events did end up repeating. If there's anything I should do or could do differently regarding my son, please let me know, because I don't exactly know how to navigate this situation. I don't want to be too harsh on my wife. We love each other and it's been made more clear after our talk that this should not be marriage ending or cause any lasting damage. If anyone has any further advice or thoughts, I'll be happy to read it. Thank you. The top commenter on that one said, from my experience, it can be hard to quit an addictive behavior like this. So she needs to be really committed and willing to try and fail quite a few times before really getting into a new groove. I personally can't just do something addictive a little bit or have timers. I just have to quit it altogether before the compulsion or obsession disappears. The other thing to watch for is switching. So she drops the Roblox but starts playing Candy Crush or drinking, etc. If you're looking for more information on addiction, Gabormate, apologies if I got that wrong, is a good beginning, and his addiction was classical music rather than a substance. Another resource you might like is Johann Hari's Stolen Focus, how big tech deliberately designs software devices etc. to be dopamine driven and addictive. If you guys can stick with it and persist in pushing through the other side, what she might experience is a period of boredom, frustration, irritability, then gradually start to feel more normal and enjoy life again. Hope you all do well. Another commenter says, also another point, you didn't have to be harsh on your wife, but you should be firm. I like the concept of responsible compassion. You love the person, you sit with their feelings, but they're still held accountable for their behavior and choices. When they fail, you're there, but you expect them to try again, and you hold reasonable boundaries. Last commenter says, OP, it's really good that you talked, and that she seems to have heard you. My question is, does she work outside the home? Perhaps having a job would help her not be obsessed with this or any other game. Even a part-time job that gets her out of the house and around people. Maybe that would help a lot. Perhaps being home alone so much made it too easy to get involved in gaming. As for your son, if she hasn't grasped how serious that was, she should really get some treatment. What she did could have caused long-term trauma to him, abandonment issues, and feelings that his mum doesn't want him around. Not saying he feels this way, but he could. You did great by talking to him and reassuring him. But did she? Good luck, OP. And there was a lot of talk, many people just saying, addiction is addiction. It doesn't matter what it is. You can be addicted to anything. Other people questioning how does a 30-plus-year-old actually get into Roblox. People mentioning on the back of that, like Dress to Impress was a bit of a trend a couple of months ago. But what do you guys make of this situation? What would you do in it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Well, let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a user called BlueSnow2574 and says, am I the arsehole here for refusing to remove a tattoo for my current partner? My 24 male girlfriend, 29 female, and I have been together for 2 years. I only have one tattoo, and it was given to me by my ex-girlfriend. The tattoo, while it's not directly about or for my ex, she was the person to tattoo it on me. It's a small, minimal tattoo. My ex and I never broke up. She died unexpectedly in an accident. I was 21. I haven't been in a serious relationship until this one I'm in now, because I've taken time to overcome the loss and all the associated trauma. To me, my tattoo holds a lot of meaning. It extends beyond the relationship I had with my ex, and I've tried to explain that to my girlfriend, but her thinking is black and white. If you're over her, just get it removed. Can't you do this for me? Don't you want to move on? It means you're stuck in the past. These are some of her arguments. Am I the arsehole here for wanting to keep my tattoo? Look, you know what the tattoo means for you. You said it extends beyond the relationship that you had with your ex, someone who sadly passed away. And the way that she's trying to frame it as being like stuck in the past shows, such a lack of empathy. We've seen this in past stories before, whether it be tattoos, physical photos like you have on your mantelpiece and stuff like that. And then a partner comes in, demands that you remove them, where they're asking you to deny a part of your history to make them feel more secure. That's not about love. That's about being possessive. So there were some comments from the OP. OP replied to someone saying, this is a good way of putting it. It seems like the thing I need to remove from the comments here is my current girlfriend. OP replies to someone else saying, exactly. Not directly anything to do with her. It's just that she gave it to me. Even when I had it done by her, it was a tattoo I was getting for myself. And while it did take on the added meaning of being something that exists in a world where she no longer does, and will always be connected in that way, it's not something to be competed with. I wish I'd shared the deeper backstory about my tattoo with my current girlfriend earlier. I think I took too long in establishing the side of my relationship with her, having her earn my trust before letting myself become vulnerable to a point where I could share traumatic memories with her. All for her to say, remove your tattoo. Shake my head. Maybe I'm an idiot and I don't know how to spot them, but I genuinely saw no red flags. This is our only real issue in our relationship, but unfortunately, it's a huge one. Opie replies to another saying, she did have some concerns even before I told her my story. She worried about how my tattoo would be perceived, specifically by her parents, because tattoos historically have bad association in my culture. But it's not a big tattoo. It's very clean and not visible when wearing most clothes. She knew about me and my past. She knew everything. This tattoo is the least bad thing about me, but to her, it's the most intolerable. I didn't talk about her at all until recently, when I decided to open up and share the story about my tattoo. And that's when the remove your tattoo stuff came out. It's not a part of my past I bring up easily or want to visit, or to talk to people about beyond what's necessary. And sometimes I wonder if I should just keep it to myself and not tell anyone at all. I thought my current girlfriend was someone I could trust, so I chose to be vulnerable. Maybe I should have laid it out earlier and given her an opportunity to walk away. I only brought it up to her recently when I told my girlfriend the story behind my tattoo. It's not something I talk about or want to talk about. I have no contact with my late girlfriend's parents. I was studying abroad when this all happened, so her parents live in another country. Her mum tries to reach out, but I don't. I went to therapy after this, and it was discouraged. And the final comment to someone OP replies saying, yeah, I think it's on me a little for taking so long to open up, but that's something I'm working on. It's a bad personality trait I've always had, even before what happened to my late girlfriend, and her dying just made me even more guarded. What I think is unfair is that people hold unresolved feelings for ex-partners all the time. whether they have a tattoo or not. But the presence of my tattoo, even though I've put in all the work and moved on from my feelings, makes my girlfriend judge me unfairly. Because it's there, she thinks it means I'm stuck in the past. But it's not true. It hurts because I'm sharing all of this with my current girlfriend. It was my way of giving her all of me. So Opie comes in with a short update and says, "Thank you everyone for answering my question. I talked to my girlfriend, and even though I've explained in the past, I try to explain again one last time, thinking maybe if we could communicate our feelings more clearly, we'd get past this misunderstanding. I explained my tattoo is personally meaningful to me in a way that has nothing to do with my ex. It doesn't mean I haven't moved on or that I'm stuck in the past. We talked for a long time and I did not break up with her because of how this conversation went. I genuinely believe we overcame it. A few days passed. She drank too much while celebrating a work milestone with her colleagues. She called me that night to come to her place. She was in a good mood that night. I fell asleep first. While I was asleep, she stubbed a cigarette on my tattoo. I broke up with her because I can't take it anymore. The fixation with my tattoo. Opie added info on that saying, fortunately the burn doesn't seem to be too deep, so if I take care of it, it'll probably be okay and heal by leaving a lighter mark. Then I'll get a touch up. It's not a big or complicated tattoo. It's clear to me now, but it took me so long because I think I was just convinced by the conversation we had. I was stupid and also I was finding it hard to separate my feelings. Many people saying that you need to report that, but Opie didn't reply to those ones, but holy shit, controlling and violent at the same time. But yeah, absolutely get yourself out of that situation. Awful person. Assaulted you. And the picture, the way Opie explained it, put an absolutely terrifying scene in my head. Obviously, I don't know what happened in that moment, but OP was asleep. They were sound asleep and girlfriend is there. And I just got this vision of her focusing on that tattoo and thinking, you know, just plotting and then just stabbing it with a cigarette. That's crazy. And OP talking about, you know, how there's been no signs before this or anything else. I sort of wonder if they do look back at their past relationship now, will he see more signs of it? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story doesn't have an update attached to it, and it's one of those stories that's an interesting one, but we never cover because it doesn't have updates. But it's from bigjellybelli, who says, "Am I the arsehole because I ate more than my share of a 6-foot party sub last night? What I thought would be a total non-issue has ballooned into a huge problem, and I'm up at 7:05 AM dealing with it. I figured while I wait for a text, I could post here to see if what I did was really that bad. I'm a big fat ass. There's no way around it. I love to eat, which probably borders on addiction, but I figure since I'm only hurting myself, it's probably better to just live my life. I have some great friends, although there is no doubt I'm the harmless, funny, token fat guy of the otherwise pretty good looking group. I guess that sets the stage enough. Last night, my friend hosted UFC and I was invited. He got a 6-foot party sub. I also brought homemade wings that are sort of my speciality. But of course, people flocked to the food and I had basically one serving of the sandwich, but people devoured my wings and I didn't get to have a single one, which is totally fine. That's why I brought them, but maybe an hour later, I was starving. I kept eyeing the sandwich and I'd say there was about 3 feet of it left. I waited an hour, then another half an hour, and no one had touched it. But they were still munching on chips, pretzels, and whatnot. So I was like, screw it. I took about half of what was left and ate it. And the last half sat for another 10 to 15 minutes, and no one said anything, so I ate the rest. Well, to be sure, as I was swallowing the last bite, the host girlfriend asked where the sandwich was. Like I was the guilty party, pretty much everyone pointed at me. I guess they'd noticed me eating the sandwich. She was furious and said that I was an incredible pig and that I had been super selfish to eat 3 feet of a sandwich. I felt so bad I tried to explain to her that I really did wait over an hour and thought people had lost interest. I also tried to explain how everyone had ate my wings and she said something along the lines of, "You brought them to share, Alan. If someone had eaten over half by themselves, that's not fucking sharing, is it?" I offered to order a pizza or even to go get Subways, and she said that it was a pathetic offer because the party sub had been from a local owned shop by her friends. I said I was sorry, but the night was so tense from then on out. I woke up this morning to several texts from my twin sisters, the host's girlfriend's best friends, saying that I had to get my shit under control and that everyone is really mad at me and that I embarrassed myself last night. I tried to explain to them what my mindset had been and they haven't responded. Was I the arsehole for eating that much of the sandwich last night? Edit. I guess I've been banned from responding, but my inbox has 1,200 notifications, so I can't find out why. To answer what seems to be the most common misconception, this wasn't a Subway party sub, so definitely not 4 times the size of a regular sub. This is a local place, so it's about 1.5 times the width of a regular sub. It's still not a ton of food, don't get me wrong, but I can down 5 Subway footlongs in an afternoon easily. This is probably about the equivalent to that, not 12 like some people are saying. DMCDD says, "You're the arsehole. Eat before you go to a party so you don't do that again." I'm also a heavy eater. I'd never even consider eating that much of something at a party or get together. Letting it sit for an hour doesn't mean anything. Others might have just been waiting to grab it after the fight. You said in the comment you polished it off during the fight. The wings prove the point. You were bummed that others ate all the wings and you didn't get a chance to have any. Just like the people complaining about the sandwich they brought. Politeness police says you're the arsehole. If it was the end of the party, like dead end, people are leaving, you should ask the host if you can have the rest. Just because no one touched it for an hour does not mean that nobody else wanted some, and that you should have 4 foot of a 6 foot sub. Also 4 foot of a 6 foot sub. That's a little bit above loving food, man. That's greedy and gluttonous. What do you want now, kid, says everyone sucks here. You were wrong to have almost all of the party sub. It was selfish. The host girlfriend should not have shouted at you. She caused a scene and made things uncomfortable. You offered to order more food was good enough apology for getting carried away with a sub. It may well be the case that you do this often and your friends are all a bit sick of it. Shouting at you and causing a scene is not the way to bring it up, but it might be worth considering that your behavior around food might be a source of irritation for the group. Lou Crafty says everyone sucks. Dude, you ate half the sandwich by yourself, even though there was other food there. But yeah, that was way an overreaction on everyone's part. I mean, I really don't know the hostess and your sister's reaction. I'm just assuming your sis isn't lying. I was in 2 minds on this, man. Well, actually 3 minds. My first thought was like, whatever goes on, I hope OP finds some kind of support, some kind of help. The way that they was talking about themselves and the way that they talk about like their addiction to food, etc. It just sounded quite sad in my opinion. But onto the actual story itself, I'm trying to put myself in that room with, you know, just watching whatever sports it is, and we got a bunch of food and this guy goes over and eats the majority of it, which he's totally wrong for. You know, I wouldn't do that in that situation. I would ask people if I could have extra. I certainly wouldn't eat the whole lot like that. I would order myself something and just say to everyone, look, I'm ordering some extra, anyone wanting? He went the other way at most of the sandwich, which would annoy me, but it wouldn't annoy me to the point of like shouting you out in front of everyone. Maybe there's more background info to this that I don't know about, but to do that, you know, I just think that's inappropriate in itself as well, especially when you offered more food, you offered takeout. I know it's from a friend's shop or whatever, which is unfortunate, but there were many comments saying, you know, this was flagged, you're the arsehole all over, but many comments saying that they would call this out immediately. But again, I'm thinking, is there more background info? Not that it matters because I'm going to see it. But the dude's up at 7:05 in the morning dealing with this, talking about a sandwich. It's just like, what the fuck? But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Put yourself in that room. Someone ate half that sandwich. Would you be bothered by it? Would you not? Considering the circumstances, let us know your thoughts. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Yeah, man, I remember being so naive when life was good, weather and palm trees. Back in the day, you were everything I need. But then along came a time when you crushed my dreams. Oh yeah, you played me like a fool when you made me believe that the line between love wasn't thick enough to read. Oh yeah, you see we in despair, crime everywhere. You're selling false hope cause you just don't care.